everyone, it's Hannah, and today I'm going to show you how to make these really cool zigzag style bracelets using Swarovski crystal pearls and plated jump rings. So to make these bracelets you are going to need your beads. My wrist size is 17 centimeters and I used 18 beads of each colour, or 36 in total. These are 6mm Swarovski pearls. The colours I'm using today are silver and black. You will also need some monofilament thread. I'm using Supple Max in 0.25mm. You are going to need about a metre of this. You're going to need some jump rings. I'm using 6mm jump rings and I use 36 of them for my wrist size. You're going to need your clasp. I'm using a medium-sized trigger clasp or lobster claw clasp. You're going to need your crimp beads, which are these tiny here. These are size 1 crimp tubes. You are also going to need a couple of necklace ends or calottes. If you don't want to use the crimp beads, that's also fine. You can make this using elastic and tie the elastic in a knot at the end. So elastic is also fine. You are also going to need some chain nose pliers if you do decide to use the crimp beads and crimp tubes and calottes. You'll also need some round nose pliers and something to cut your monofilament thread with. For the purpose of the tutorial, I will also be using a couple of needles, just so you can see the thread, as monofilament thread is see-through. So cut my monofilament thread in half, so I've got two lengths of 50 centimeters, and on one end I'm going to thread up through the bottom of my necklace end, and I'm also going to slide on my crimp tube. The reason I'm doing this before I've even put any beads on is so none of the beads fall off the other end, and it makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers, I'm going to take the crimp tube close to the end of my monofilament thread and just squash that flat. So now it's flat and the threads are not going to come off. I'm just going to then let that necklace end fall to the end, and then that's where we'll leave it for the time being. I'm now going to thread my needles. So I've now threaded my needles. What I'm going to do on one needle, I'm going to pick up one colour of bead. So I'm just going to pick up my black bead and let that drop down. So that's dropped down there. Then I'm going to pick up a jump ring using both needles, so both of the threads go through, and let that drop. Then on the other needle that I didn't thread the first bead on, I'm going to pick up my second colour and let that drop down. And then I'm going to pick up another jump ring using both needles. Then we're going to go back to the first needle that we threaded a bead on, and I'm going to pick up another black bead. Like so. And let that drop down. Then with both needles I'm going to go through one of the jump rings. And that's how you continue for the rest of the bracelet. It's very simple but very effective. So you've just got to think that one needle is only picking up one colour, and then both of the threads go through the jump ring. And it's quite easy to get into a bit of a routine of doing this. And so you just continue to do that until your bracelet is long enough to fit around your wrist. So I have my 36 beads threaded on, along with my 35 jump rings. And it is long enough to go around my wrist with a bit of extra space. The clasp will add about ½ inch or a centimetre or so in length to your bracelet, so please remember that when you are measuring it around your wrist. As you can see, I still have about 10 centimetres, 15 centimetres or so of monofilament thread left. So if you wanted to use less than a metre, you can. I just like to play it on the safe side. So what we're going to do now to finish off your bracelet, you are going to want to thread both ends of the monofilament thread through the bottom of your calotte, much like we did to start with. So thread that through there. We're also going to thread them both through our teeny tiny crimp tube. Whereas before we wanted to get the crimp tube as close to the end as possible, this time we are going to push the crimp tube down into the calotte. Make sure that both of your threads are even. You don't want one side to be tighter than the other and get an awkward curve. But what you're going to do is you're just going to push it down and then squeeze it closed using your chain nose pliers. And then I'm just going to trim off any excess close to the crimp tube. So all we have to do now is add our clasps so we can actually close this. So to close up our calottes, I'm just going to hold 1/2 of the calotte with my chain nose pliers. I'm going to push the other half against the nose of the pliers just to start the bend. So then when I push each side together, it should close up nicely. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other end. And so all we have to do now is thread on our clasp onto the weird little loopy bit, grab our round nose pliers and bend that loop back onto itself. So create a loop round like this. Then on the other end, pop on your final jump ring and create a loop in exactly the same way. And there we go. That's your bracelet finished. These look great using several different colour combinations. In this one I've used a lilac-y lavender colour and a nice deep purple. This one I've used a nice dark brown and then this reddish colour, like a red wine, but it's lovely. And then with this one, like you've seen, I've used silver and, well, it's technically called black, but it's more like a charcoal hematite kind of colour. I hope that you liked this tutorial learning how to make a Zigzag Swarovski pearl bracelet. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Your support means an awful lot to me and I really appreciate it. I post a new video twice a week, one on a Thursday and one on a Sunday, so hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun that we have over here in the Corner of Craft. If you do decide to make any of my tutorials for yourself, please post a picture of them on Instagram with the hashtag #TheCornerOfCraft so I can check them out for myself. I'd love to see how talented you all are. I'll post all my social media links in the description box below, along with any information on where I bought my materials and such. And I shall see you on Thursday for my next tutorial. Bye!